Hello, Yarny friends. Thank you for joining us in episode 19. Today we're going to share a bit from the heart about why we knit and what we hope it does to build legacy with our loved ones. And we're pretty sure that you're going to be able to relate to all this. So join us with your favorite project and yarn over with us.
And I said, you have just made my day.
Hey there, my name is Susie, and I am so glad that you are joining us. Episode 19. Linda, I can't believe this is episode 19. But this is a place where that friends join together with yarn and needles, and we tell stories and we tell what we're knitting on and crocheting on. And so we are so glad that you were with us today.
So my name is Linda, and we're so glad that you're here. We hope you had a very blessed Easter and some time to rest with your family. My husband and I spent a few days at the lake camping, and though my knitting needles were throwing sparks as I tried to meet that goal of finishing my wrap, I did it. I did it. So I'm not going to show you guys because here's the thing. It is off the needles, and I wove in all the ends. However, I didn't
that was a big task.
Oh, yes, it was. And but I did not have the correct pom-pom size. And even though it was just a little bit bigger, I don't have that much yarn. I'm going to show you. Oh, I didn't bring it. How dumb is that? Anyway, I don't have that much yarn of some of the colors. Some of the colors, depending on the pattern, took more yarn than others. So I didn't want to make the pom-poms too big, and so I will have it blocked and ready to show, I promise, next time. So anyway, but I did finish it. So yes, in fact, my husband's like, do you want a fire? And I said, yeah, I'll just take my knitting needles over there and make sparks and light a fire. Oh my gosh, I would just do this, but it was so peaceful, and yeah, it was wonderful.
I am thrilled that you're able to say that. I wish I could say that mine was put together. I've got all those squares, 24 squares that have got to be put together, but I'll get to it. I've given myself permission to say it's okay. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be blocking it back there on that 8-foot island, and even at 8 feet, it's too
long.
It's too long,
Yeah.
but it isn't too long. I mean, it's what the pattern says, because it is not a shawl. It is a wrap.
A wrap.
And it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be ginormous, but it's okay. And it's going to get much wider. If you look at it right now, it's not very wide, but it's at a diagonal, so it's going to, look how it's going to stretch.
Yeah, it's going to stretch.
Yeah, so it's going to be
beautiful, Linda. I love the
Thank
colors.
you.
They're beautiful.
Well, it's kind of neat that these last colors, they're very Eastery. They, if you saw our post on Instagram, and the sunset on Good Friday, this was Good Friday, and it was perfect. It was just a nice Eastery finish. But yeah.
It was.
So anyway, do you have anything off your needles or crochet hook?
I don't have, I have loads of stuff on my needles. I don't have anything off my needles.
Nothing done. That's okay.
No,
life gets in the way.
But our last episode I talked about, and we can put that up while I talk about it.
Which one? What are you going to show?
It's the northeasterly.
Okay.
The northeasterly blanket. I talked about that last episode. And I have been, so the last 2 weeks since we were together, week 1 after we last recorded, I had our 3 granddaughters here, and their ages are 5, 4, and 2. And the only thing I could knit on was something that would be easy to knit on. And so I had shared the northeasterly blanket the last time that we were together. And I chose this because I am doing the Yarnable Yarn Club this year, and it's a DK weight yarn, and I am doing this blanket that is done in strips. And you can see on the picture there, there's so many different ways that you can make this. You can do the strips at different sizes, and keep adding on sideways or on top. It's beautiful, and it's a 20 for your DK yarn. It's a 23 stitch repeat. But isn't that beautiful? And so what I have chosen to do, go down to the one that has all the different colors. Go up. They're right there.
Up.
Click on that. The one that has all. Go down. Go down.
That one? No.
Yes.
But look at that.
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that?
It can be used as a scrappy blanket. Mine is going to be more uniform because I'm actually using the Yarnable Yarn Club. This could be an ongoing project that you just add your scraps in, and you can work from side to side, or you can do the strips individually and just do strips. Because when you knit a new section, you're connecting it to an original section that you've already done. And so it truly is a scrappy project, but it can be done so many different ways. And so while the granddaughters were here, this is what I picked up. So I had shown this to you last time, and I had a solid section. I had the brown section done, and I had carried it up, and I had started adding this. So now I went ahead and took the variegated all the way. So there's 50 grams of variegated in the brown and 50 grams of the solid, the tonal. And then I had 50 grams of the variegated left. So what I did is I went back and put it beside the brown and carried that 50 grams up. And then the next month was purple with the tonal. And so I'm carrying this purple all the way up this variegated. And so I'm doing it in strips. Instead of doing it side to side, I'm doing the long strips. And so the next color that will be added, and this will go all the way up the variegated on this side. Well, it will go up the variegated and the solid, and this is what's going to go beside that.
You know I love those blues.
Yeah. And the Yarnable Club, so I'm going to keep working. So the next So after this color, I'm going to be adding the green, and you've got purple there.
That's a great transition.
And then from there, I'll transition to these colors.
Oh, I like it.
And then I'll transition to this. So this is going to be, that's going to be your transition. And then I have gotten my Yarnable Club for April, and it will then transition to this. This is the April Yarnable color. So it'll go from this to this.
That's really cool.
So
that's a great way to use all that. Now the Yarnable, you said that's a DK?
It's a DK. I chose a DK. My
perfect blankets for Southerners.
My
really,
speckled finch. And there were some little extras in this month, and I don't know why this was sent, but this is puzzle erasers that are scented vanilla. I don't know what that has to do with yarn. Oh, maybe you need erasers to erase on your patterns if you print out and make notes. I don't know. But anyway, that was an extra. And then these little these open up, so I guess these could be containers for stitch markers and different types of notions, so they came in there. And then highlighters for,
Oh, the highlighters are nice. Yeah.
that's nice. And of course, they always come in these little bags, which are nice to use over. These are nice little bags.
Yeah, I like those bags.
So that was the Yarnable Club. And then I also got my speckled finch, and this club is finger and weight yarn. And this is the way this month's was packaged.
Ooh.
Isn't that pretty? And then
Very.
here is the...
Is that paper? Is that just pretty paper on top there?
That is tissue paper. She puts beautiful tissue paper in with the yarn box, the club. And here is, and she always uses these little mesh bags. They're so nice to reuse for different things. And so we have some beautiful stitch markers
Love
with
it.
this month's club. And she does homemade suckers. So this is a
She makes
sucker.
them?
She makes them, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think she makes these. And then a little container to put in project bags to hold marker. Oh no, I forgot. This is actually wildflower seeds to throw out and grow wildflowers.
Oh, nice.
And so I forgot that's what that was, but it can be used for stitch markers after you throw your,
Sure,
your
when it's
seeds
empty.
out. And that matches this, but it's like
Yeah.
there's wildflowers on the sucker. So that
So
was
now-
what was in the...
That's your speckled finch, you said, right?
This is speckled finch, yeah.
And that's
And
fingering.
this is her card, and this is fingering, and this is the card. And most of the time, the card kind of shows you, it's a picture that's kind of showing what the yarn's going to be like. And so this is the yarn,
Oh,
and this is the
that's
finger
so
and weight
pretty.
yarn. You
Very
can see
pretty.
it's got the greens in them and the
Yeah, I have a
pinks and-
color like that in my, it's really similar to a color I have in my wrap. How pretty. Aw.
So those are the clubs. So that is my show and tell.
There's
My
your
sh-
show
my
and
yarn-
tell.
My yarn show and tell.
Well, I wanted to pull something out here. This is already a little faded, but I love them so much because, you know, I love the beach. And I really, you know, when we go camping, I really like to go to the water simply because I live in the country. I can look at beautiful trees. I can have a bonfire here. What I don't have is water. I don't have a lake or, you know, well, river or the ocean, of course. I love the ocean. But about 4 years ago, I got into making these little starfish dishcloths.
Oh, that is so darling.
And I'm going to pull up the little pattern here because I do have it when I can find it. It's a oh, nope, that didn't work. Hold on. You know, it's a free pattern, so it's from Yarn Inspirations. So you know, of course it does cotton. That's quite obvious. And so I think what am I looking for? Well, I mean, it doesn't take much cotton. I used just a portion for the blue. And of course, so there's actually 3 colors. There's the sand color around the edge, there's the blue, and then there's the white for, you know, the inside of it. And I believe I got at least 2 dishcloths out of each one. But I would sit at the beach and knit these because it wasn't laying in your lap making you hot and stuff. But anyway, and I was making them and giving them to some of my beach friends. And I started giving them away. And you, of course, we always talk about people love cotton knit dishcloths, but they're so nice. And I pulled this out. Well, I washed it after we got back, and I thought, oh, I should show this. But I know everybody's into
that
the
is
support
perfect
chickens.
for camper dishcloths or beach
It is.
towels. Or even if
Yep.
you live at the beach, if you live around water,
I
that's
know.
a great little dishcloth.
I just like the beach. But I know everybody's into the support chickens, which I really need one. I was telling Marcy from, I hope we're saying this right. She's going to have to correct us, Omnicon Studios. She's making her support chickens, and they're so darling because I have real chickens, so I need a support chicken. I need a chicken that doesn't need to be fed. But anyways, that's something that's super easy to crochet as you go. And what else? Let's see. So
You know,
I have
they
to look
have
at my
knitted.
list.
They have knitted crochet support chickens too. They have a knitted pattern.
I think she is knitting them, but I'm not
Is she
sure.
knitting it? Because I've seen crochet and knitting.
Yes. I don't know, actually. I'll have to show the support chickens to my daughter who's crocheting now. So, but yeah, it's knitting. So then, since I got my shawl done, I jumped on this project that I actually started. It's just going to be, here it is, what I got so far.
Oh, is that a baby's? Is that a little baby
It
sweater?
is. It's a little baby sweater. And here, first I'll show the pattern. I'm going to show you the pattern first. I got to get rid of my papers here. Sorry, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to have to, so here is the little sweater that I am knitting. And because I had this kit, and it really is, you can see all the different colors. It was supposed to be a Knitwits floral crochet project, but I really didn't. Yeah, I didn't want to crochet it. It's Rita yarn, and it is 100% washable merino, and it is so soft. So I felt it was baby okay. And so in November, before Advent time, I started this little tee with all that yarn, and then of course I put it away in December and haven't looked at anything really since then. But I have a baby shower on May 5th, I believe it is, whatever the
And we're
the first
having
Saturday
lots
of
of
May is.
baby showers to go to.
I know. And so I'm going to knit this, and you know, the good news, you know, we always talk about knitworthy and our you know, our ambivalence and whatever to knit for other people.
Right.
And I actually started doing some research about that. Let me click this off first. And you know, what we're feeling is not unusual, first of all. And, you know, as far as, you know, we spend all this time knitting or crocheting or even, you know, quilting, whatever craft you're doing for your loved one. And then you wonder if they're going to even care about it, if they're going to enjoy it. And before we get into the heart of the whole matter, because that's something, of course, when we knit or crochet, you know, there's more than just the process, obviously, which we're going to talk about. But I did see on several different websites, they mentioned if you want them to really appreciate it, don't make it a surprise. They said to share what you're going to do for them and then do it. And that way you can kind of properly manage their, what would be the word, their emotion about it, you know, because they don't understand the time it takes. They don't understand the costs sometimes in the yarn. I mean, like you, for instance, with your baby blankets, you're spending upwards to $100 on some of these blankets, you know? And so I thought that was kind of interesting, and instead of surprising them all the time. And but the good news is the person that I'm knitting this for, she has tried to teach herself to knit. So she's interested in knitting, and she realizes at least the physical,
Yeah, she's knitworthy.
you know,
You've already defined her as knitworthy.
I think so. I think she'll appreciate it. And like I said, it's very, very soft. But you know, you get knitting these projects, and of course you're thinking about the mom, you're thinking about the baby. You know, I pray for the baby, I pray for the mom. You know, there's just a lot of heart in there's just a lot of time we even spend thinking about the person sometimes while we're making the project, you know?
Yeah, that's
and
so true.
And it's just, I think that's one of the things people don't understand, or maybe know. I mean, they would understand if we told them. So we're telling them now. You know, maybe share this with some of your loved ones who you knit for or crochet for, because they may not understand your heart in it and why you do it and how much you were thinking and loving on them while you're doing it, you know?
Yeah, and it's okay to do that. You know, I think it becomes
Yeah, they're not
more,
mind readers.
no, they're not. And
Yeah.
if they're not, if they don't work with yarn and they don't understand the cost of the real fibers and all of that, they need to be educated. And so, yeah, I never mind telling people what I'm doing and the value of it. You know, that you are the one, for many people that you knit or crochet for, the one that puts value on that project. You know, I had an interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I knit those little animals like you're knitting for your granddaughters, we should have had that link. Well, we'll do it when you get it done. We'll show the link.
Okay.
When I gave Eleanor her lammy, I did the lamb. But I said, I thought about you every single day while I did this, and she got it. You know, she just seemed to really get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an interesting thing to happen when my granddaughters were here. Sawyer, my husband, he keeps our temperature in our house year round is 68 degrees, you know, so if you're hot, well, I can't believe you would be, but if you're cold, then you'll have to learn how to adapt and to create ways to create warmth. But but the girls handle the temperature very well most of the time. But Sawyer had told me, she said, I'm cold, Gran. And I said, well, honey, there's a shawl over there on the sofa. Just wrap that around you. And so, of course, questions began to evoke about the shawl. And she said, did you make this, Gran? And I said, yes, I did. And I said, there's actually a story about that shawl. And she said, tell me. And Sawyer's almost 6. And so I began to tell her the story about the shawl. And I hope that I won't get emotional. I'm feeling it already happening.
Oh, see, this is the heart of knitting.
This is the heart. And so this is the shawl that I told her to pick up and to put on.
Okay.
I made this shawl many, many years ago. And the purpose of making the shawl is my mom was going through a really physically challenging time in her life. And so I went through patterns. It's been so long since I did this, I don't even remember the pattern. I really can't tell you anything about the yarn or anything. I remember going and picking the yarn out at my local yarn store, and I went through patterns, and I did a search on Ravelry, I think, for prayer shawls. And so it's a prayer shawl pattern. And I've mentioned on here before that my husband's a pastor, and so we prayed over this shawl. And that may sound unusual to some of you, but you know, the thought there is that you pray over the shawl, you share that with the individual that they prayed, and it's like the thoughts of praying for that person during that hard time that they're going through, that is something that they remember when they wrap it around them. It's like, this is a prayer shawl, it's been prayed over, and we are praying for your healing and for your health. And I think it was a big comfort to my mom. And so not only did it give warmth, but it gave the comfort that there's people that love me that are praying for me. And of course, she was very yarn worthy. She knew the time that it took, and knitted things were very valuable to her. And, you know, my mother passed away back in February of 2019. And so all of the things, which were not many, and I wish I had knitted more for her because she loved it, but the things that I personally knitted for my mom, I got those things back. And so, of course, this shawl is very special to me because it's full of memory. And so when Sawyer wrapped it around her and wanted the story, then this is the story that I told her, that your great-grandmother, you know, was going through a challenging time, and Gran knitted that for her. And when she felt lonely or sad or, you know, didn't feel good, she would wrap this shawl around her, and it would give her comfort. And she said, this was my great-grandmother's shawl. And I said, yes. And I said,
so
and now
cool.
you get to wear it. And she asked questions, and my mother passed away in February before Sawyer was born in May. And so it was like one entered the world and one left the world, and they left at a time and entered at a time that they didn't get to meet. But I had video of Sawyer, Mary Catherine, my daughter, telling my mom about Sawyer that she was pregnant. And so my mom did know. And so I told Sawyer when she was wrapping herself in that shawl, I said, but your great-grandmother knew about you. And so we sat down and we watched the video of her being told that Mary Catherine
Really?
was born.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
And, so that day, Sawyer wrapped this shawl around her all day long. And that night when she got ready to go to bed, she said, Gran, she said, can I go to sleep with great-grandmama's shawl? Can I wear it to bed? And I said, sure. She said, I will wrap up in it. It will keep me warm. And I looked at her wrapped in it, and I thought, oh, I so remember my mom wrapping herself in this, and then to see the child that she knew was coming, that she never met, is now wrapping herself in it. And one day I'll be gone. But the story that is wrapped around the shawl is so wonderful. And that is the heart of knitting.
Yes.
When we knit, it's not just because we want to give a gift or keep ourselves busy, although that's part of it. But the heart of knitting is who you're knitting for, what you're thinking when that yarn is going through your hands. And it truly is therapy. When we talk about that, this is therapy. It's therapy. And, this week when you're knitting, that yarn is going to last much longer than you, and it is going to carry stories and love and laughter. And it's one of the reasons why I love doing this so much, because I know that one day that when I can't talk about my projects anymore, that they will be left for others to talk about them. And it's a very special thing. And I feel, I almost feel, and I don't know if this is the right word to say, I almost feel sorry for people that haven't understood and haven't embraced what there is with yarn and needles. And I've often said that yarn and needles, that knitting and crocheting is so much more than yarn and needles. It truly, when you meet a person that knits or crochets, you have an instant friend, because it's like to grow friendships, you've got to make that investment. You've got to get to know each other. You've got to know about each other's lives. But when you meet somebody that knits or crochets, it's like you have an instant friend, because you understand that. You understand something that goes way beyond personalities. And, we all have different personalities. We all have, different likes and dislikes. But when you put a group of people together with yarn and needles, there's a heart there, and it's heart.
There is.
And it truly is the heart of yarn and needles, the heart of knitting, the heart of crocheting, or the heart of quilting, or the heart of needlework, or crafting is so wonderful. And it makes me sad too that this is not being taught in our schools very much anymore. I mean, we went to home ec classes, and
at least we learned to sew.
Yeah, or there were sewing classes, and it's like these crafts need to be brought back to our children. In fact, I'm so excited that Sawyer's getting ready to turn 6, because I kind of thought, well, that may be the age that I'll introduce this to her. And I'm just hoping that at least we'll have 4 granddaughters, that at least one of them is going to fall in love with this craft.
Well, I think there is actually a renaissance, because if you look at the YouTube channels out there, the majority of them are a lot younger than us. They're like our kids' age. And so that's good. I mean, I think
that is good.
I think that's good. And I noticed, I think it was today, I was watching something on Instagram or Facebook, and you know how they'll have the little paid shorts and, the new
Yeah.
stuff from Walmart, and people put on all these Walmart clothes. And one of the outfits had a crocheted purse. And I thought, there it is. I mean, it's just, because, in the 70s, it was cool to have the macrame,
Yeah.
the crochet, and
the granny square,
I know.
jackets and sweaters, they were huge
Yep.
back then.
Yep.
And they're
And-
coming back. I'm seeing a
Oh,
lot
they
of
are.
patterns for garments that are made with granny squares.
Yeah, and so I think, in fact, I'm going to maybe next week, or I'll just wait till we go, because we're gonna be in Salt Lake City together in a few weeks. Surprise!
Oh, I'm so excited.
And my crossbody bag is crocheted, but it's really
Yeah,
cool
you
now. I
gotta
won't even
show
look that. I will. Well, I'll show it then. But the thing is, if I would have wore it even last year, it might have been really not that I care that much, but I'm just saying it wouldn't be as in fashion as it is today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all making a huge comeback. So, when Danny, my husband, was really stressed, after his dad passed, I said to him, I said, you really should learn to knit. I said, in the UK or in Germany, I said, these guys are knitting. I said, you could be knitting yourself a sweater or something with nice big worsted
And years
weight,
ago, it was the men that knitted. It wasn't the women. It
I
was
said,
the
and you
men
can
that
start.
knitted.
I know. And I said, and then you can start a man's, YouTube knit thing or something. Anyway, he didn't bite, but that's okay.
Men knitting.
And then in some ways I don't want him to ever learn to knit, because then he would not be quite as mesmerized by it all. He just thinks it is the most amazing thing. He just
Or
thinks
he would
it's,
have an opinion about how you did it or what you were knitting.
well, no, but the mystique would be gone, because really, I'm like, honestly, it's like, you put it in, you cross it, you take it off. That's all And it's like, but he just thinks it's something else. And I said, well, everything is
he would
just.
always need you to fix the mistakes. It takes much longer to learn to fix mistakes than it does to actually make the
Oh,
stitches.
I know. I had just found a drop stitch while you were talking, and I pulled it up, and I hate that when sometimes then it's a little wider, but I think that'll go away when I block it. It's not much wider, but yeah, I had a drop stitch. Look at this, and it dropped. Where was it? It dropped all the way to the blue, and I had one. What is this color? Kind of terracotta. That's it.
Yeah.
But I saved it. But
Yeah.
see, that's when you know you're a really good knitter, is when you can fix your mistakes.
When you can fix the mistakes in crocheting are not as hard, because you're just pulling
I know,
out
right?
and recrocheting. But knitting, that's about like when we used to wear hose with our dresses, and we'd get a run, and it would start, and it would just go all the way down the leg, and that's what happens with knitting. It's like a run in your stockings.
I know.
I remember
it's
when I
awful.
was teaching knitting, and my students they would drop a stitch, and it was like they went into a paralyzed mode. They're sitting there knitting, and they're enjoying what
I
they're doing. And all of a
understand.
sudden they say, Susie, and they freeze. They would freeze. I need your help. I need your help. It's like, I know they'd made a mistake.
know.
It's like it froze their whole body. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But
I
yeah,
know.
fixing those mistakes, to me, that was the hard, understanding the mechanics of what we were doing, and when there was a mistake. And I saw somewhere, I don't know if it was, I know what it was. There's craftsy.com. That is a yarn site that you can get a membership from, and they have classes. And Laura Nelkin, which is she actually did one of the hoods when we were back talking about hoods. But Laura Nelkin has a class on there of fixing mistakes in lace knitting. When I saw that, I thought,
Ooh, and
wow,
lace knitting.
that would be an amazing class to take, because
Terrifying
when I
to
do
me.
lace knitting, I do you put a line in. What do we call that? We put
Life-
a line
like a
in.
lifeline?
A
Is it a
lifeline,
lifeline?
yeah. We put a lifeline in so that we mess up, we can go back to the lifeline. But, you know, there's so many yarn overs and knit two togethers and slip knits. And there's so much in lace knitting that if you drop a stitch and it runs, it's like as many years as I've been knitting, I would have to pull out to the lifeline, and thank God for it.
Oh,
you know, you're saying,
well-
oh, I'm so glad I've got a lifeline in. But yeah,
I
fixing your
know.
mistakes is tough in lace
Well,
knitting.
But yesterday, when I picked this back up, I remembered why I don't have a lot of whips. It's because I don't remember what I was doing. And even
I
though
know.
it's the worst. So I would have had to have done this anyway, but I couldn't remember where I was. So I had to take out all of, I increased too much, and I had 40 extra stitches. And this thing would have been a tenth for the baby, you know?
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
so
Look how
so
little
I
that
had-
is. It's so
I know,
cute.
but it's going so fast. I just rejoice. So I already got my holders on for my sleeves, and it'll go nice
That
and
is
fast.
going
But
really fast.
so you know what? We actually have a submission for our Yarn Circle Spotlight. So let's take a pause and show Kathy's beautiful shawl. Here it is.
Okay.
That shawl would be a great Advent knit. Do you
Oh,
see?
it's
And I actually
beautiful.
counted, but I think there's 24 colors in that shawl. So
Oh, that
yeah.
would be a
And then there's a
perfect
main
Advent.
color.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. And thanks
Yeah,
for
she
sharing,
did a great
Kathy.
job. I know, it's
Send your
beautiful.
projects. Let us share what our
Yes,
yarn
I
circle is
know.
making and doing. We want to share that with everyone.
I know you guys are making stuff. I see it on your
I know
Instagram.
you are. We know you're
So,
making stuff.
I
Send
know,
your
we-
stuff to us. I'll do that real
Yeah, I
southern.
know.
Send that stuff to us.
I know. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, that's fun. But let's see what else. So there was a question actually somebody asked, and it was on a yarn group, and I thought, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you. And then if you guys have an answer that we don't talk about, please put it in the comments. So here was the question. Yes. So I'm going to ask you to do this for two reasons. One is we really want to know your thoughts on it because we don't know everything. So, and secondly, yeah, no, we don't. I'm learning every day. But the other thing is people wonder, and they have asked, you know, why our channel doesn't have more exposure. And there's two things that get a channel in the algorithms suggested to other knitters and crocheters. Number one is comments. Comments show, you know, viewership,
People are
involvement,
engaging.
and
Yeah.
right, and interest. And number two is sharing. So it's just an algorithm. It isn't like they hate us or anything, but if people don't share it with their friends, they know outward links. You know, it's a whole internet thing that's kind of beyond my understanding. I only understand a little bit. But when you share it with others, every time you hit that share button on your YouTube, they know. And like, I have to tell you, I am so guilty of this. Sometimes I go back to my history
I'm guilty of it too.
and look at what I've watched and hit the
and
like button.
it. Yeah.
Because I
Hitting the
forget
like
I'm
button. Yeah.
Yes. So those three things, liking, sharing, and commenting. And I
commenting, yeah.
have intentionally started commenting more as well because honestly I'm thinking about things anyway. About their episode, or I have something to say. Don't we
that's
always have
true.
something to say? But
Yeah.
it helps them. So So here's the question. Why would someone use 2 strands of yarn, and we understand mohair, but beyond mohair, why would they use 2 strands of yarn? Why not just buy thicker yarn? So why would you hold 2 strands?
Do we answer that, or we just let people
Well, I mean, we
comment
can have
and
our
tell?
opinion why we would. I mean, the only reason I do know is to make it thicker, but there might be other reasons.
Well,
I
if you
don't
remember
know.
last week, I talked about a dishcloth that I made that I added. It was
Ooh,
cotton,
that's true.
and I added a very thin line of hemp yarn. And hemp is
To make
very
it
thin.
stronger.
Make it stronger, and to add color. You know, if you knit with white, adding another like lightweight piece of yarn in with a neutral will create a marling of color throughout that project. So if it was a worsted weight project, but you wanted to do it in a neutral and you wanted to add in color, you could take down and do, what is it that, I get so confused about, I actually took a screenshot of this on my phone so that I would remember when you add the different weights, what the weight goes
Well,
up to.
2 fingerings is a DK.
Is a DK.
That's all I know.
But a fingering and a DK, does that make a worsted? Anyway, so if you had a worsted weight project, but you wanted to put color that would weave in and out with a neutral, then you would take it down and do less weight, but add two colors in, and you would do 2 strings of yarn.
Okay.
So, and then with the dishcloth, I did that to create strength by adding hemp in, because hemp is such a strong fiber. You almost can't destroy it. And
Isn't
so
that
would be another
interesting?
reason. That would be another reason why that I would do that.
Okay.
Another
Well, if
question.
you guys-
Another question that I'll add into this one is: do you pull when you wrap your yarn? Hey, and this is I've started the baby blanket for Keaton, my new little granddaughter, and this is the yarn. I'm making the Happy Tulips blanket.
Oh, should I show that?
Yeah, show that.
Okay, hold on. I gotta...
And I've done it's 147 stitch cast on. So this is how much I've done. I've started this much. And I love these needles. They're purple needles for the purple blanket, but this is the Happy Tulip blanket. So my question is, when you wind your yarn, do you pull from the outside or do you pull from the inside? Tell us which one you do and why. I'll tell you. I have done both, but I think my favorite is to pull from the outside because I so don't like the collapsing of the yarn. I like my yarn to stay in a ball. So if I pull from the outside, then my ball always, my wound up hank of yarn always is together. Now the other reason why I would pull from the middle is if I have a yarn cozy that goes around my yarn to hold it, then I will pull from the middle, because you can't pull from the outside when you have a yarn cozy around your yarn. So that would be why I would pull from the middle. But most of the time, if I don't have a yarn cozy on, I pull from the outside. So tell us which way you do. Do you pull from the outside or the inside? Do you pull from the outside or the inside, Linda?
I'm there. I was muted. I don't know how I got muted.
Oh, okay.
I mostly pull from the outside because what I've been finding is when I pull from the inside, like you said, sometimes the collapsing tangles the yarn.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, I don't like that, but it just depends. I mean, I I mean, I do both, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I wind it and I can't find my beginning middle, so I just do it from the outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just depends, really. I do both. I'm not committed to either way.
And
Am I
we mentioned
blurry?
last time that we're doing a giveaway. We're doing
Oh,
a giveaway.
yes. When we get to
I
our
don't-
200th, where are
when we
we?
get to our 200. So you liking and commenting and sharing will help us get there.
Let's see. We are at we're at 182 still.
So we only have
Okay, guys,
18.
we need help.
18
We need help.
more.
Help.
18 more subscribers. Get
Oh, my
to
goodness.
it. Help us.
I actually was watching the Knitters League, their new episode, and it made me feel a little less bad because number one, is it? I don't remember their names. I don't know.
There's
Lisa?
Lori and Elise, and there's
Lori. I think
Julie
Lori was
and
the one
Lori.
who was knitting. She knit a sweater and then she ran out of yarn.
Ran out of
and
yarn.
I know. And I thought that's something that would happen to me. I can see that again. You know, this is why works in progress, starting too many projects make me very nervous. It is not a comfortable thing for me. I have very little faith in myself for remembering, even though I take notes, remembering what I'm doing, getting back in the groove. And I do keep a paper pattern, although I did take your advice and I got the Knit Companion again and I've really enjoyed it. But here's what I've noticed, Susie. And case in point, this baby sweater I'm doing, they're short. They're missing the crucial page. So
What?
they're missing a page in the Knit Companion. And this is the second time this has happened to me. They're missing a page. They're missing the page of the part where I am. It's crazy.
Oh,
but
I've never
anyway.
had that to happen.
Oh, this is the second time it's happened to me.
I have never had
In
a-
my
a
shawl, the
pattern.
pages are numbered, but they're in the wrong order. But
That is
you know,
where do you
I know.
download them from? Do you download them from Ravelry?
yeah. But I do keep, my notes. And so that's a good thing. And so, I have my color progression. I had, all of here. I mean, this is how I do. Knit, increase, knit. Okay. But I still don't always know where I am. So it makes me very nervous to start multiple projects because I just don't really feel safe to go back to them after too long of a time. It's only
Well,
been
but
since
in
November.
Knit Companion, though, you can make notes. There's a place
Yeah.
on the bottom you can type in notes. So if you and you have your row counters on the side where that you're counting your rows,
Yeah.
and so you can put a lot of notes in there too, as
Yeah.
well as if you have a printed that you're writing on them. But keeping good notes help us to go back to those whips. So yeah, it's important to do the notes so that we can go back to the whips.
See, and if I stopped where I am now, it'd be no big deal. I mean, you're just knitting the body for X amount of inches, and if I put
Yeah.
it down for 3 years, I'd know where I was. But, plus my notes would tell me, but I don't know. I get nervous about it, So anyway, but when I'm done with this, which hopefully will be by Saturday, need it done by Saturday, I'm going to jump on my crochet project because I want to get that top done. And,
Oh,
crochet
yeah.
works so fast that it shouldn't take me too long. But yeah, so that's about it for my projects. I think that's enough. I've got enough going on.
I'm talked out.
All
I'm
righty.
talked out.
Just for everybody out there, May is really going to be a crazy month for us. I'm going to be out of town with my husband, and then Susie and I will be together in Salt Lake City for almost a whole week
Yes.
in like the middle of May. So hopefully we'll get something out then. So I'm looking forward to that, but I have no promises of when our next episode will be, but it will happen. So, and I will have my wrap because I'm taking it to Salt Lake City.
Episode
It'll-
20. We'll make it to 20.
Ooh, 20, yeah. So anyway, but we will see you sometime soon. Anyway, happy knitting and crocheting. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.